What's up, Windwalkers, and welcome to my Mythic Gallywix guide. We stepped foot into the Undermine a month ago, and after the culmination of 738 boss pulls and 101 hours, I have achieved what I would call my greatest accomplishment in this game since I started playing back in Warlords of Draenor, rank 21 in the world. This is by no means being the easiest of rides, but I wanted to take a second to thank all of you who watch my videos, who tuned in for the streams, and of course, my guild. All the support allowed me to reach a peak I never thought was possible, so I truly appreciate everything. Thank you. Alright, soppy monologue out of the way, let's take a look at the gear. For this marathon of a boss fight, this is the gear that I ran. Interestingly enough, the gear is extremely similar to what I ran for a lot of the later bosses, with the key difference being a gem and enchant switch up to be more crit and burst focused for a bit more higher burst damage and added survivability. As of recording, this was the rank 4 Windwalker log in the world, and this is the damage breakdown. You can see how much of an impact Crackling Jade Lightning had, as it has had all tier to be honest, and this is the perfect segue into talents. So, talents. I'm going to talk about both trees here, as there's some value on either side. As you know, I love to plan out my defensives, and it occurred to me that Fortifying Brew got use every 2 minutes or more, so in this instance, I went for Iron Shell Brew here for added survivability. Additionally, I went for Ni Zhao's protection in the hero tree. This meant that Fort Brew was essentially my massive defensive for the fight, my all reliable to survive just about anything. On the Windwalker side of the tree, it's no surprise I went for the Lightning build. With constant ad spawns, this was the perfect talent. Now, although Slicing Winds got a buff, I decided it was a bit too risky to take for this fight, for the value it provided, with the precise movements you needed in P2, and opted for Transfer the Power instead. This isn't to say Slicing Winds doesn't have a place on this boss, I just didn't want to risk anything on such a gruelingly long encounter. Alright, definitely way too much preamble yap. How about we actually check out this boss fight, shall we? So, Gallywix Mythic. This is an interesting one as it's completely different to Heroic and Normal. The first time a Mythic boss has ever done this. It is basically a completely different fight. You all stack up to bait the mech, and then you start pummeling the boss. Single target opener, don't worry too much about this, just hit him normally. What is important here is positioning. You and your team will be split up into 4 different groups. As you can see, I'm positioned on the very left side of my team's quadrant. Now, what's important to note here is that I requested to be on the very left side. This is because you need to move around stutter stepping as you go, but I Whirling Dragon Punch. So if I'm at the front leading my pack and I Whirling Dragon Punch, I hold up the rest of my group. The best thing I can advise with Whirling Dragon Punch is to move a bit sideways, Whirling Dragon Punch so you don't get zapped by the laser. As well as this, you want to Fort Brew and Karma during this. Don't do this initially on pull, do it halfway through as the damage ramps up, and always Fort Brew before Karma, as this will give Karma a bigger shield so you'll get more damage out of it. Other than that, you're just playing the standard opener, single target, and you're trying to build up 20 lightning stacks. However, when you get to 20 stacks, do not send them. As well as this, Storm Earth and Fire as soon as possible. Because this is such a long fight, you're going to get an additional charge at the very end of the fight. So, once the ad spawns, then you chain lightning them. You want to make sure you hit every single target here, including the boss, to get as much value as possible. As well as this, you need to bait the frontal to the edge. Now what I do here is I hold Fist of Fury and Strike of the Windlord for after the frontal, and I make sure to hit all targets, Fist of Fury, and then I make sure to Touch of Death one of the ads. This is important as you want to be Touch of Deathing as much as possible, as this is an intermittent ad spawn fight. Touch of Death will give you that 5% damage increase for as much of the fight as possible. You need as much damage as possible, so do this on every single ad set you can. Once again, I'm building up stacks, and here is really important. You do not send your full cooldowns. Instead, you just send a Strike, Fist of Fury, and a Chain Lightning and hit all 4 targets. Now, the reason that you use Strike of the Windlord here, instead of waiting for your cooldowns to come up and then doing your full combo, is actually quite important. As you can see, Swan is not quite up yet, and when he comes up and all your big cooldowns are ready to go, you're actually going to go into a part of the fight where you need to position, and if you get the bomb baits on you, you cannot be sending cooldowns, you need to get to the corner of the room. Now, I don't actually get them here, but you'll see these other players do get them. If I happen to get one during my cooldowns, I have to move out, I lose all my uptime on my burst window, and I basically scuff up an entire window of damage. So it's more important to hold these cooldowns, get a mini burst window out quickly, and then go ham on the boss. And your goal here, once again, is to charge up as much lightning stacks as possible. You want to get to 20, but you do not want to send. Lightning in P1 is really crucial to be getting on as many targets as possible. Now, what's important to note here is that even if the boss is not nearby these ads, send chain lightning as fast as possible. This is because the window between this ad set and the next ad set is extremely short, which means you're not going to get a lot of time to stack up to 20 again. So it's really vital that you send this out as soon as possible to get as much value on the next ad set. Even if that means not hitting the boss on this one, it just is what it is. So once again, we're about to get the rocket lines as well as the boss frontal. I don't get the lines, but it's still super crucial to bait the frontal. Once the frontals come out, you need to get into your soak as fast as possible. This is a race against time. You have to get there. You have basically 1 second to do so. And then pop Diffuse Magic. This is one of the highest damage points in the entire fight. Diffuse Magic will keep you protected. And now you can see what I mean by stacking up Crackling Jade Lightnings. Because the ads come out here, I need to make sure that I get Crackling Jade Lightning. As well as this, I want to try and benefit from the Gale Force. So I strike at the Windlord first, then I pop Crackling Jade Lightning, and then I just start spinning to hit every target, Fist of Fury, as much damage as possible. Even though my big cooldowns are up here, again, I'm holding them. Why? Because we've got a move out position. If I send my cooldowns a little bit earlier, suddenly I can't hit the boss. The moment we've moved out and he's cast suppression, run back in, pop every single cooldown and go. Now, you're going to get another overlap here with the lines. Unfortunately, I get one here. I just have to move away from the boss and lose some damage. It is what it is. So you move back in and we're going to get the final soaks of the entire fight before we get into P2. And this is where setup is everything. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to set yourself up for as much AoE damage as possible, as you're going to get the biggest ad set in the entire fight. As well as this positioning is crucial. You see that I put a Transcendence down and then I move to X. You need to be so precise with your movement here because of the lightning. There is a grace period that you go and you move through it, and then you start hitting on the ads. Now, I actually scuffed this up a lot. I should have chain lightninged well earlier on, and you can see that I actually lose a lot of ad damage because I'm trying to line up cooldowns in a certain way that I just mess up. It is what it is. I could have played that ad set way better. Anyway, I Transcendence over, and now I don't have to worry about the lines anymore. So, we're in P2, and you're going to have a set position. I was always right on the side. You can see, me and the Demon Hunter, we play on this corner for the entire fight pretty much going forward. And this is because we're trying to bait the frontal towards us. As well as that, me and the Demon Hunter are not in any of the soaks. We are backup soak. So you can see that there's lightning everywhere, and when suppression comes out, you need to get as far away from the boss as possible. You need to find the gap initially first, and then run out. Now, I'm not going to lie here. I might have moved out of the suppression a little bit earlier and ahead of the pack, and this is not what you want to really be doing. I think I just moved a bit too quickly, and because of this, the Evoker fell. Now, I want to note here it's also important that I have a hold cooldowns for the big circle. If I pop cooldowns initially before this circle comes in and I get the mechanic, which I do, I suddenly lose all of my cooldowns. It's important to hold for this couple of seconds, because if you guess it, you need to move out. Now, my positioning on this could have been better. I didn't have to go as far back as possible. I was just trying to play as safe. And this part of the fight, defensives are all reactive. I have no set defenses for the entirety of the rest of this fight. If I get a mechanic, I get a mechanic, and then I pop a defensive. There's no presets here. Other than that, I just send out my cooldowns as soon as possible, and there's nothing specifically I have to line up for. I'm just trying to get as much value from Crackling Jade Lightning as possible. So whenever I have a strike of the Windlord Burst window with Gale Force, this is when I Crackling Jade Lightning. You just have to be safe here. Health pots, health stones, defensives, make sure you do not die. And then you're basically just repeating this. You can see that I get blaze lines here. I move to a safe position so I don't hit anybody. I could have been hitting the boss here, but I was focusing a little bit more on the safety of other players rather than my uptime on damage. However, you can still hit the boss from this position. So, now we move back into the boss, and we're going to get another frontal. Whenever we get a bait frontal, as you can see, me and the Demon Hunter and any other melee try to go on the very edge, and the idea is to get the frontal to be shot away from all the ranged. Unfortunately, a lot of the time it does just get focused on the ranged. That is just what it is. It's an RNG focused thing. Now you can see that I've notified myself to send everything, as well as this to hold the next lightning. Now this is important. By sending everything here and sending one final lightning, I do as much damage to the boss as possible. But what's coming up after this is another big set of ads, so I want to build as many lightning stacks as possible, similar to the first big set of ads, so that when they spawn, I can just jam them with as much damage as possible, because nuking them down is super important. They all cast, and if any of these casts start going off, players just drop. and if certain players die, the entire group is wiped. These are the mages and the demon hunter. So now we're getting into the final zone of the fight, and this is where everything gets super compact and super sketchy. Your entire group of melee need to stack up on the red cross marker. This is because this is the safe spot where you get a grace period from the lightning that comes out, and then you basically follow it around the entire thing. I had set a transcendence here, but it's completely unnecessary. As well as this, it's important to make sure you CC the ads and nuke them down. This ad set went a lot cleaner than the last ad set. As you can imagine, I managed to get a Gale Force, Crackling Jade Lightning, and a full Heart Window Fist of Fury on the ad, so I managed to nuke these down a lot more effectively than that first set. As you can see, the melee move around to this very left corner, and the lightning looks like it's going to hit us, but it stops just before. Do not be afraid, you will be safe here. It cannot hit you. Do not panic. So, now we get back into our positions, and as I'm right side, I tuck myself into the right-hand corner, and we're going to get a lot of mechanics coming in here. Now, the bombs are going to come in again, and this is what I mean by reactive defensives. I am one of the players to get the bomb, and you can see that there is barely any room in this entire boss quadrant left. So I make the executive decision to pop all my defensives and run into the horrible blue quadrant that deals damage. As I've got all my defenses running, I take absolutely no damage from this, and I make sure that there's tons of space for the rest of my group. This is why I have no preset defensives, because you just have to play them reactionary for this encounter. It is just what it is. So finally, we're on to the very end of the boss fight, and this is where things get really messy. We're about to get one more frontal, and we also get suppression coming up. We have to bait the frontal into the corner, but at the same time, the entire group in this tiny little quadrant has to run away from the suppression. We run as a group, and we manage to get to the very corner, and then we head straight back into the boss. However, now we're going to get our final set of bombs. The targets of these bombs leave me in a horrible position. I get a blaze mechanic on me, and the left group are going to get a frontal. For me, and you can see the warrior, make the executive decision to, instead of risking anybody's lives here, run into the blue and just end ourselves. Because it's safer and more likely that we'll get the boss kill from us just letting ourselves die than potentially killing someone that has to take the front soak, or one of the VIP mages or the demon hunter. And from this point on, we're just watching from the sidelines, praying that we get the kill. As we reach the penultimate seconds of this boss, I'm going to move us over to the voice comms.
I taunt it for you, and just finish the boss now, guys.
Come on, come on.
Wheels, make sure you score ward.
Yes!
Oh
Yes.
my god.
Oh my god,
Let's
yes.
go.
And there we have it. Mythic Gallywix defeated. And of course your boy got the big G. Who else would get it other than Windwalker POV? God damn, I'm blessed. Anyway, I hope this guide helps you with your Mythic Gallywix skills, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.